All right, it's a little like pulling a tooth. You just want to do it all at once. Let's just do let's learn the pen tool, okay? I want you guys to be the masters of the pen tool and not be afraid of it, because the pen tool is, I've had a love-hate relationship with the pen tool, this guy right here, for many, many years, because it's, a lot of people have problems with it. It's a little bit unpredictable, but it is the key building block. One of the key building blocks to making shapes, okay? So let's just get into it, all right? For the most part, I've been using these two guys up here, the direct selection tool and just the selection tool. So those two are A and V, okay? So let's click on the Nike logo here. You can see, as we talked about before, as you click on each of these anchor points, you will see that there are these handles, okay? And what these handles are doing is creating the curve of the line that goes from one anchor point to another anchor point. So here's an anchor point here. Here's an anchor point here. We can change this angle here by moving these anchor points. We can move this. Click on this anchor point. We can move this and change it a little bit more. Okay, so let's I'm going to do Control Z. And now we're back, okay? Now I just want to give you a quick introduction to the pen tool. It's actually fairly simple to understand. So let's just go through it. I'm going to create a new layer just to be safe. And I'm going to click up here. I'm going to click 3 times and make a triangle, the most basic of shapes. So here we go. 1, 2, 3. And you'll notice at the bottom there's a little circle. On the pen tool, there's a little circle there, which means we're going to close this shape. The concept of a closed shape is important, because once this is closed, like now it is an official shape. It doesn't, even though you could see the fill, it looked like a triangle, now it is an official shape. We can go down here to these two guys right here. I haven't really talked about them yet, but this is the fill over here in the tools, and this is the stroke. Now what is a stroke? A stroke is if you just want to see this as an outline, and we're going to cover this all later, strokes and fills. I'm going to hit this little switcheroo button right here, and now we see just the stroke, okay? This is just the lines. And we can have both of these if we want. If you want to have the stroke be one color, we can double click on the fill and make it like a blue. There you go. But that's not really what we're talking about right now, okay? So that's simple strokes and fills, but we're talking about the pen tool. Let's get back to the pen tool. What are we doing? All right, the pen tool. And I'm just going to leave the colors the way they were, because it doesn't really matter. Now, if you click and drag on the anchor point like so, and then do another point, click and drag, you see that cool line that it's making? That curve that it's making? Now let's draw another one. We're going to do another point down here. You can see the line here, the curve that it creates. And now we're going to go back up here, and you'll see that circle again on the pen tool, and click on that and drag that too. And you can see how you can, get into some trouble here with, crossing over lines and everything. So now clicking on the direct selection tool, we can click on these anchor points and move things around as we want them. See? Or we can change how the curves work between the anchor points by moving these handles, and you can move them in and out, and you can make them work individually. Be careful with moving one side of the, these are called Bezier handles. Be careful with moving one without the other, because then you start getting ugly little changes where the anchor point is. As long as you kind of have a straight anchor point, you're going to have a nice curve. Okay, so you see that? There we go. Anyway, you get the point with that, hopefully. Now let's just get rid of that, and we're going to attempt to make the Nike logo, okay? So one of the first things that I want to do, since I don't want to select the actual logo, I just want to trace on top of it, is I want to click on the logo layer and put a lock key on it. Okay, so now I can't touch that. And I can only work on this layer above it. All right, so let's go ahead and start. This isn't going to be perfect. It takes, time to be perfect, but I just want to give you an idea how you can create one of the most basic logos that there is. So I'm going to click on here, click on it, and I don't have to drag, but I'm going to. If you don't drag, it'll just be, you can combine, let's say, for example, you have one anchor point that doesn't have any handles on it, and then combine that with an one with a curve. So I can, do that, and this doesn't actually have any Bezier handles on it. This is just an anchor point. So I could do that too. Hope that makes sense. Lock that again. Delete this guy. If you want to delete it, you just drag it to the trash. Here we go. All right. We're doing this live, so I'm not editing it. Here we go. Okay, so I'm going to click on here, and I'm going to just go ahead and drag that just because I want to. I'm going to click here, drag that, click here, drag that out, click here, click here, and you can see this looks terrible. I'm going to have to go back and edit this all out. And click here. And you can see that circle's there, and I've finished up my shape. And if you delete the, or if you turn off the little eyeball, you can see my shape versus the actual shape. Now, one thing that I like to do is I like to differentiate what I'm working with from the background. So since these are the same colors, I'm going to select this, and I'm going to change it to a different shape. So I'm just going to make this like a, kind of a nice light blue. And also, you'll notice up here at the top, you start getting all these options. Whenever you click on different things, you get different options here. Well, that's not a great example. When you select different things or whatever, you get different options up here. And one of the things I can do up here is take the opacity down to like 50% so I can see through it. Okay, and it probably would have been better to do that from the beginning. Anyway, so let's get on the selection tools here, and let's start messing with the handles. Okay, I'm going to zoom in a little bit, Control+++, and let's start playing around with this shape. And like I said, I'm not going to get it perfect, but let's get it pretty close. Put this guy here. I'm not sure if the actual Nike logo has a curve here. I thought it was a direct point. So let's, oops. It can be a little tricky getting just the right place. You need to zoom in and zoom out. There you go. Okay. Let's take this. And you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to, in order to make these operate independently, I'm going to click on Alt and click this guy and drag them around. So these two guys are now, these two Bezier handles are now operating independently. Now let's move this guy over here. Just drag this around a little bit, like that. Pull this out a little bit. There we go. And we're pretty close. We're not perfect, but we're pretty close. We can move this up a little more. And you know, a lot of working with the pen tool is just like little tiny tweaks. Okay, so let's get rid of the Nike logo, and I'm going to hit Control-, and I think that's a pretty convincing Nike logo.